If you're planning international travel, or think you might someday, there's something you need to understand because your passport can be taken by the IRS. It's called seriously delinquent tax debt. That number, $66,000. That's for 2026. Once the IRS certifies your tax debt as seriously delinquent with the State Department, they can take your passport away. So the IRS keeps track of how much you owe them, and over the years, interest on top of penalties, on top of tax, all becomes baked in like a chocolate chip cookie. It's all tax. So passport revocations begin when you have what's considered seriously delinquent tax debt. 2026, that's $66,000. All the IRS has to do is something very administrative. They go to the State Department, they certify your tax debt as delinquent, seriously delinquent, certifiably delinquent, and they certify your tax debt as seriously delinquent with the State Department. The State Department in turn makes a check mark. Now, is this going to affect you at the gate? Probably not. Where it's going to affect you is when you're renewing a passport. And a lot of people happen to renew their passport weeks or a few months before their international travel. And that's where it's going to hit you, because now your deadline of 3 months to get there is quickened by your need to get your passport from the State Department, but it's actually with the IRS. So when the IRS certifies your tax debt, when your tax balance grows to be big enough, they can certify it with the State Department and they can take away your passport. Now, renewing your passport is one thing, but let's say you're overseas and your tax debt, you're not sued, your tax debt is certified tax delinquent. It's a designation that the IRS sends to the State Department. And the State Department in turn decides what happens next. Your passport, you can't renew it. You can't get another one until your tax debt is taken care of. That balance that you owe with the IRS has to go below that $66,000 in order to get that delinquent taken off. Oh, there are a couple other ways it can happen. Let me tell you a story about a client I had. I was looking at his transcripts. I saw that his 2017 had fallen off of being considered currently not collectible. Something happened at the IRS and something triggered that year to fall off. He contacted me a couple weeks later and said, I need my passport. I'm getting married overseas and I need my passport. Well, after he engaged my services, I contacted a person I know at the IRS. So I don't want to say that this is going to apply to everyone or anyone, but he had met me when I was studying for the United States Tax Court Practitioner exam. The same meeting, I did a presentation on frivolous tax arguments and the Internal Revenue Code. So I must have made an impression on somebody who took taxes seriously. He got on the phone. He must have made some calls. He called me back the next day, told me that this is the number you can call, and I called that number and I just discussed the person's situation, that he had been considered currently not collectible prior, and that one of the technical code sections in the Internal Revenue Code says that if you're already considered currently not collectible, they can't take your passport away from you. So it was a matter of contacting the stakeholder liaison and then talking to the local offices. And when my client went to get his passport renewed, the Thursday before it had been denied, Monday he goes back into the office, poof, his passport is approved. He flies overseas, gets married, has a honeymoon, everything worked out just fine. But if you have seriously delinquent tax debt and your passport is certified as non-renewable, you need to do a few things. What are the few things you can do? You can get into a payment plan and make 3 payments and have that designation taken off of your tax account. That's all it would take. You could pay it all off, or you could be considered currently not collectible. But all of these take time and it's a process. So if you have more questions, my name is Josh Webskowski. I'm an enrolled agent and a United States Tax Court Practitioner. Reach out. There's a link below for a free consultation if you have questions. I look forward to talking to you soon.